Kellen Moore's locker room speech after the win versus the Giants. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I take you into the New Orleans Saints locker room. All right, after the big win, the first of many of Kellen Moore's career as a head coach and as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Also the first win for Spencer Rattler as a starting quarterback in the NFL. So big moment in this locker room, and I'm sure it was an absolute sigh of relief. I can tell you just from being in the dome, I can tell you people around me were breathing a sigh of relief. Like, people around me, including me, were just, a weight was lifted off their shoulders. When that clock hit 0:00, it was fist bumping, it was high-fiving. Finally, right? Finally, the 0-17, the Spencer Rattler, Owen, whatever, the Kellen Moore can't win again. Finally, all that's over. Finally, this team, these players feel a win. And, for a young team, a rebuilding team, you can put all the work in you want. You can do all the right things, but not getting across that finish line, not feeling the win, not seeing what it takes, not seeing what it feels like and how you can accomplish the final goal and all that stuff. That's something. There's something to that. There's something to seeing it through and seeing, like, okay, this is how it works. This is what we do. This is how we do, the last minute of a game when we are winning. This is how we play with a lead. So it's one win, but it is as much needed as a win as I can remember.
Nice job, guys. Nice job. Hey, went into this, okay? I got tired of writing 2 scripts. I wrote 1 script. There's nothing on the back page, okay? There's only 1 for the win. Okay, effort and finish all week, guys. We talked about it all week, guys. Okay, you never know which play is going to make the difference. Okay, 5-0 turnovers.
Turnovers, man. It's crazy. Every game is turnovers. Like, in order to overcome a big turnover margin, it takes a lot. It takes a ton. So you see it in every game. It really is crazy, where in every upset or every game that you're kind of surprised at the final, if you go and look, more than likely it's because of turnovers. It's always plays out like that. New England and Buffalo last night. Buffalo had turnovers, they had fumbles, Allen threw a couple picks. There you go, right? So it's just, the game has evolved so much, and the analytics and the strategy and the rules and the players have evolved, and now they're so much more talented and so much faster and bigger and stronger or whatever. But it's the same thing as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. Cannot turn the ball over. Like that, especially when everything is so to the letter like it is now, where it's so efficient, because turning the ball over, it is a negative possession for you and a positive possession for your opponent. And you're giving your opponent extra possessions, better field position. Like, everything just goes into turnovers. It's wild. When you have 5 of them and you're +5, I mean, impossible to win a game like that.
Let's start with Cam recovering a football. There we go. Mario with a nice strip. Jonas with the recovery.
Yeah, but we talked about Jonas in the recap, but Jonas has, a couple of weeks ago, I do so many videos I can barely even keep up when they come out. We talked about how you never know. You have no clue which young players or at what point are the young players going to start making the impact, and they're going to start kind of taking over. And it happens with every team. The Giants, right? Cam Scadaboo and Jackson Dart have taken over the energy and the identity of the New York Giants. Now, they're rookies, right? They're going to make mistakes. It is what it is. But they're changing the culture. 2017, 2018 with the Saints. Same thing. Saints started off really slow. 0-2, got rolled by the Patriots at home. 3 back-to-back 7 and 9 seasons with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And it took Alvin Kamara. It took Mark Ingram. It took Michael Thomas. It took Marshawn Lattimore to completely change the identity, the culture of the team, even though Sean Payton and Drew Brees were still there, even though you had like this, for what I think is the second best quarterback to ever live and one of the best head coaches of all time. Even though you had them, it took a handful of rookies to change the identity and culture of that team to set them up. That's what this team is doing now and will continue to do as long as it's in a rebuild. The Saints are in a rebuild. They've been in a rebuild. They told you that the day they traded Marshawn Lattimore. They told you they're in a rebuild. Derek Carr retired. Ryan Ramczyk retired. Michael Thomas medically retired, sort of. It could not have been more obvious. They get a 36-year-old head coach. It could not have been more obvious. They had 9 draft picks that they were rebuilding. It is going to take players in the draft classes and young players. I mean, like players from last year's draft class or whatever. It is going to take those players, and some of them may not even be on the roster, right? Some may come in next year's draft class or the next year, whatever. It's going to take those players to make an impact to change this team, to change the identity, to build that next chapter. I'm not saying Jonas Sanker is going to be a Hall of Famer, but right now he's one of those guys. Right now he is one of those guys who every single game he is playing makes an impact. Whether it's preseason, whether it's this game, whether it's the previous game, he's there, he's making plays, and I mean it's huge. And the more that we get those young players, whoever they are, the more we get them making plays, whether it's Kelvin Banks, whether it's Tulise Fuaga, whether it's Trevor Penning, whether it's Spencer Rattler, whether it's Kendra Miller, whether it's next year's draft class, whether it's Danny Stutzman, whether it's whoever. Quincy Riley played great in this game. When those players start to make the impact and take over, this team is going to move into that next era and that next chapter. But Jonas Sanker has been absolutely incredible.
Rizzy with a strip. Howden with the touchdown. Kool-Aid, where the hell are you?
The human element of the game is forgotten about. And that's really just in life. Like the human element in life is forgotten about. People, it's all, anonymous Twitter handles and it's all anonymous subreddit. Everything is anonymous. Everything is non-personal. Everything is, you fire off in a comment section, or you fire off on a tweet, or you fire off on a Facebook comment, and then you keep it moving. Nothing is human anymore, right? Nothing is that human connection. And sometimes we forget that these are human beings in the locker room. And sometimes we forget that these are people and they are trying their best. And sometimes they may fail, sometimes they may succeed. And Kool-Aid has been a guy who has taken a ton of criticism, deservedly, right? He has not played well up until this point. For him to get these 2 picks in this moment, you can tell, like we talked about previously with the win, the weight is off the team's shoulders. I can't even imagine the weight that is off Kool-Aid's shoulders, getting those picks, feeling like, okay, all right, got to win, got the picks, we're okay. Like the boat is rocking, and now the boat's steady. Even if it's for a game, even if it's for an hour, the boat is steady. All right, so kudos to Kool-Aid. It was good to see him obviously get the picks and be a part of the win and be part of the 5 takeaways and to get the game ball. And you can tell, just the look in his face, you can tell what kind of a moment this is for him.
Offensively, guys, Taysom Hill back in there for a big 19-yard completion.
Taysom early in the game, I thought, and this happened to Sean Payton too. I remember, 8 years ago, and I was doing videos with Sean Payton as the coach, I would be critical because it seemed like Sean Payton was coaching the game as if it had 6 quarters. And a lot of the times it was like he was so wrapped up in getting Taysom touches and Alvin touches and this player and that player and this player and doing this and this play. It seemed like it was like, hey man, there's a game going on. Like, try and win the game. What are we doing? Like, we're just running plays to run plays. And early on, I felt like the Taysom usage was almost disjointed. It was almost like, and it makes sense, right? This is a new player, a new set of plays for a team that's already played 4 games at this point. So it felt like the Taysom stuff kind of threw off the rhythm of the team. And it was like, okay, take Rattler off, put Rattler at wide receiver, Taysom's in now he's throwing, now he's running, now it's a fake, now he's a wingback. It felt like it was almost like they're practicing, but there's a game going on. Then they kind of got away from the Taysom stuff. I think the offense started to find a rhythm. And then at the end of the game, they brought him back in, fine, knocked the rust off. It's the first game. I'm not saying not to use Taysom, but it did feel like, at least for me watching, it was like, okay, this Taysom stuff is fine, but let's not force this and get away from our actual offense. Also, if Taysom is going to play, and he is going to play. But if you have Taysom, I think the most important thing you can do, it's not have him at quarterback, it's not have him throw the ball, whatever. The most important thing this team can do, and Kellen Moore can do moving forward, is to figure out how to utilize Taysom in third and short, or just short yardage situations, to make a almost guaranteed conversion. Whatever the play is, if it's a tush push, if it's a quarterback sneak, if it's a quarterback power, if it's a fullback dive, if it's a whatever. And they did like the Jack Stoll motion lead quarterback power thing, which is cool. But they got to figure out a way to make that a 95+% conversion like the Eagles have with the tush push. In this game, if y'all remember the 3rd and 1 where Taysom trips or whatever and he doesn't get the first down, we punt. That's a good, with like 4 minutes left. That is a good example of why the Eagles are so hard to beat, because they don't punt there. They get the conversion, whether it's on 3rd and 1 with the tush push or 4th and 1 with the tush push. There is no question. There is no resistance. They get it. They burn 2 more minutes off the clock. Game's done, right? If we would have picked up that first down and didn't punt, then we burn 2 more minutes off until the 2-minute warning, and then the Giants have to start using their timeouts. And this game was already kind of decided at that point, but in a 1-score game, that is the difference between winning and losing. That is why the Eagles win so many games when they probably shouldn't, because they do not have the threat of punting on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Anywhere on the field, they just get it. And when you eliminate that from a team, that it is crazy, like how big of a deal that is. So with Taysom Hill, we got to find that, whatever it is. I'm not saying it has to be the tush push, but that should be Kellen Moore's number one goal with Taysom, is find out a way. If Taysom if that's all he does this season is just convert 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and inches short, whatever, then okay, fine, it's worth it. Got to figure out what that play is.
Shaheed, big time play, 4 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown.
The Shaheed pass, the bomb, 87 yards, was good to see, just for explosive play stuff, like just because we haven't seen that yet. But I tell you what, and I'm not saying, it's all on Adebo. I don't even think he was involved in that play, but I did see a lot of people after the game saying, like, okay, yeah, maybe paying Adebo $50 million would have been crazy. And it's amazing how much I've heard, like, especially with Kool-Aid and how, how the secondary hadn't played very well this season, how much I've heard, like, we let Adebo walk, man. It's like, dude, $50 million for a cornerback in 2025? That ain't it. All right, that ain't it, my boy. Heard the same thing during the Lattimore trade. Can't believe we traded Lattimore. Heard the same thing in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. It's like, I can't believe we traded it. And that's why I always say it's hard to see the forest through the trees. But there was no way we were going to pay Adebo $50+ million. No way. I'm not saying the Giants were wrong for doing it, but in the Saints salary cap situation, for what they were doing moving forward, that would have been insane.
Spencer Rattler, 20 for 30, 225 touchdown.
Another one. Can't even imagine the weight off this guy's shoulders. He has played very well this entire time. He has played average to above average the entire season. Worked his tail off. He's an absolute bulldog out there. He would do anything for a yard. He would do anything for a first down. I'm very happy to see Spencer get this. And he keeps his job, right? I was talking about this walking to the Dome, where it's like, hey, if we lose this game, because y'all know, y'all have watched the videos. Up until this game, I was basically sure that we were going to win this. I mean, I guaranteed it on this channel, which I've never done before. I've never guaranteed a win, especially with a winless team. But I thought for sure we were going to win this game. But there's always the chance you don't win it. And when I was walking to the Dome, that was the conversation. It was like, what if we don't win? What happens if something, it goes wrong, we have turnovers, whatever, and we lose? And we basically decided, like, yeah, that's probably when you would turn to Shuck. If you lose this game, even if it's not Spencer Rattler's fault, you probably do just have to make a change. You have to do something. So But we won the game. Spencer played really well. Spencer continues to play well. And he keeps his job. So Spencer Rattler will be the starting quarterback moving forward, unless all hell breaks loose in the next couple of games. But kudos to Rattler. Played good. Did exactly what we thought he would do. Used his legs. He's way more of a mobile threat than people give him credit for. Way more. And that is a tough defensive line. That is a really, really tough defense out there. And didn't get sacked once. Offensive line held up. Good game plan from the coaches. It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome job, guys.
Kellen Moore got his first win as a Saints head coach.
So when I saw this clip, I saw this part where Kellen got the game ball. I'm not going to say I almost cried, but I wouldn't blame you if you did, okay? Can you imagine what this would look like if they actually respected and liked Kellen Moore? Can you imagine what this moment would have looked like? Can you imagine what this would have looked like if they actually respected Kellen Moore as a head coach and not just as a paintball teammate? I know I keep harping on this because it is so ridiculous. And when I hear this kind of stuff, it just blows my mind. The idea that through, at the time, 3 games, that the team had either quit on Kellen Moore, didn't respect Kellen Moore, or whatever, because they had some penalties, was nuts. The idea that Kellen Moore needs to be screaming and cursing and whatever on the sideline to be a leader is nuts. And all those narratives were crazy. And like I said at the time, they were downright irresponsible to say. This, the human element thing again, does this look like a team or players that aren't happy for this coach and don't respect this coach? The wins, the losses, the records tell a very tiny, minute part of the story. That's why we go through the box score every week. That's why we watch the interviews. That's why we look at the analytics. That's why we look at the metrics. And if all that is thrown away on the side and people just say, I didn't see Kellen Moore screaming on the sideline after the turnover. I don't think he can lead this locker room. I said it when Kellen Moore was hired. You do not become one of the greatest college football quarterbacks to ever play. You do not do that. You do not play the quarterback in the NFL. You do not become an offensive coordinator a year after you quit playing in the NFL. You do not do all that and then become a head coach. You do not become an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, a serious-ass organization and a serious-ass locker room. You don't win a Super Bowl there unless you can lead a room. The fact that Kellen Moore is quiet, thoughtful, he's more on the innovative, analytical side of things. The fact that that's who he is, it's crazy. In today's NFL, where the best head coaches are Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, and you've got people who are still living in 1993, and they want Bill Parcells, or they want, the gruff and the screaming and cursing and tobacco spitting head coaches on the sideline. Crazy. And honestly, that was the Parcells things. Parcells is one of the most thoughtful coaches ever, too. Parcells is a great guy. But it's shocking. And that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this. I was like, it's crazy that we actually had people who were like, yeah, man, he's lost the locker room. There was a false start. Yeah, the false start is definitely because they hate this guy. Oh, wait a minute. There was a illegal shift. Yeah, that illegal shift definitely means that they hate him as a head coach and don't respect him.
Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Hey, this hasn't been the
I love
easiest
you.
month. Your resiliency's shown up each and every week, okay? We got one. Now we carry the momentum. We start stacking these, and let's get ready to roll there. Let's go, let's go. Be cooked. Break us down. Here we go. Yes,
sir. Keep that momentum going, fellas. This is what we're about. We come out here next week and get this dub again. Be great on 3. 1, 2, 3. Be great.
The best thing that could have happened for the Saints for next week is the Patriots beating the Bills, by the way. So the Patriots in a relative letdown spot. Not saying that, we'll cover that game throughout the entire week, but it was good for the Saints that the Patriots got the win. I mean, this part right here where Alvin gives him the game ball, when I'm looking around and you can see the smiles, you can see, I mean, whether it's from Kellen, whether it's from Alvin, whether it's from players in the background, whether it's from the staff, whether it's from anyone else, you look at this entire imagery, everything, the hugs, look at Juwan. Look at everyone in the background. The joy in this room for this team, for each other, for this coach, this is bigger than 1-4. This is bigger than 10 penalties or a blocked punt or whatever. This is what it's about. And when I talk about they're building something, they're building a culture, they're building an identity, this is it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Monday. See you in the next video.